are at Shelters by Jesus podcast, and we are so excited that you're with us, you're watching, you're listening, you're hitting subscribe, you're hitting like, you're sharing with your friends, because that brings money in. And if you want to help get people off the street, you go to sheltersbyjesus.com. If you'd like to give, it's $9. We'll get somebody off the street. We also have 4 books out written by the dumb hick from Skowhegan, me. And they have 2 prices. $10 are free. And you put your name and address right there and tell if you want books 1, 2, 3, or 4, all of them. We'll mail them right out to you. You also can call the office at 207-474-8833 and give them your name and address there, and they'll ship it. But the other thing you can do is get a tour. When you call that number, say, I'd like a tour, and you'll meet the residents. You'll see everything we have. And we're just excited about you being a part of this. So now, on to the podcast. All right, I have a special guest on my podcast that actually, this is a part 2 of one we'd already done. Aaron just finished one. We finished one with him and did his background, mind-blowing. But I wanted him to come do another one, maybe even though after that, I'm not sure if we cover everything, because right now, for those, especially in the state of Maine, are aware that Portland, Maine is going out of their minds with the homeless situation. I'm watching the news every day, and right now they've got people coming in steady, not just ones on the street, but now they got asylum seekers, and asylum seekers are taking preferential over the guys that are on the street already. And I mean, it is nuts. Well, I wanted you to hear from a guy that knows the situation. I don't know if he lived on the street with him or not, but I know he knows the situation, and I'm going to find out some stuff myself. But I do know he was down in Portland and has got an idea what's going on the streets and what's going on and all those things. And I just thought it would be an awesome time to bring that up and get his point of view on it, what he sees, and all of that. So, Aaron, man, I'm excited to hear about it. I mean, it's a lousy topic, but I'm excited to hear about what's going on, so people can understand the severity. And I don't live down there, so but to me, from the outside looking in, it looks like a severe situation. So, talk to us from a guy that's been there and done it.
Well, you know how God's prevalent in this building.
I do know that.
And how He makes miracles happen here.
I do know that.
Well, if that be the case that we all believe, then I believe the devil has his hand in Portland, and he's really strong there right now.
I do not doubt that at all, my friend.
And the reason why I say this is, one, they draw a line in the sand to segregate us, meaning the asylum seekers coming in. That irritates the people that have been there for 10 years, 12 years, 6 months, whatever it may be, that's been on a list to get a bed at a shelter.
So there is they've asked to be put on a waiting list. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And that's only a few of them that choose to do that. And I'd say that's most likely the ones that aren't using at the time.
Okay.
You know, the ones that are using know they ain't gonna get away with it in the shelter because it's a dry shelter now, and you'll be kicked out and you won't have the opportunity to come back. So that being said, they'd rather stay in tents, stay on the streets. Plus, it's summertime, so this is something that's mental hospitals, the rehabs, everything tends to have a couple more beds open up during the summer because people like to party until fall again.
Yeah.
So, it's just the Portland scene in general, but it's gotten so much worse, in my opinion. So the resources that they have now aren't all in one place. You have to run around just to get anything accomplished.
So when you talk about resources, what are we talking about, Aaron?
Oh, well, let's put it like this. I asked where I could get a meal.
Okay.
A hot meal, because
Was you on the street at the time?
Yes, sir.
You were, okay.
So I have no teeth, so it's hard for me to eat normal.
Hard food. Sure, I understand.
And so to get an accommodation to that, you have to run around. Well, they told me to go to one building, which was, let me remember correctly, the living room I had to go to Opportunity Alliance. Opportunity Alliance told me to go over to the Learning Collab. The Learning Collab told me to go back to Spurlink, where I originally started. All these places can only do far and few for people right now. And the reason why I say that is because they're very limited to what they're allowed to do for us.
Okay.
The crisis, the living room is through Spurwink, which is a crisis center technically.
Now, is that a town, a city, a federal thing? What is Berwyn?
So Spurwink is a state. It's a organization, but it's all through the state of Maine. Spurwink has schools, hospitals,
Okay.
psych doctors.
So
you name it.
so they have a homeless shelter.
No.
They do not.
No.
All right. So their services to these places.
What the living room / Spurwink has is something that they call a 24-hour crisis center. Now, mind you, crises in their minds only last overnight. It could be a blizzard the next day. They're going to kick you out at 7 a.m. if you're not in an active crisis. So that to me says that these people have to go in there, one, be vulnerable, two, give up their space, possibly at a shelter, to be there, because the shelter is now all the way out in Riverton, and Riverton is like at least 4 or 5 miles from in-town Portland, where all the resources are. So that being said, how do you be homeless, carry bags, and walk all that distance back and forth, or even get bus passes? That's even a nuisance, in my opinion. I don't want to hop on 3 buses to get to the place I have to stay at. That's just one example of me having to go around just to get one hot meal. Then on top of that, I spent one night there before I came down here the last time.
Okay.
And they kicked me out the next morning. I had to go seek a hotel because I just couldn't do that, man. I couldn't say I want to kill myself to stay there anymore. I don't feel comfortable saying that. It's not something that I actually feel. So I didn't want to do it in the first place, but I had no options.
Okay.
So, and that's another thing that's kind of going on in Portland right now, is that people are having to put themselves into situations that they normally wouldn't do or say in order to have a space that they consider safe. Now, mind you, are they safe if they're telling you that they're killing themselves?
Well, I'm seeing. Well, I just saw on TV this morning. They found a person that was dead on the street, and they
Mark
they
Wheeler
checked.
found him. Mark
Who?
Wheeler.
You know who that is?
Yeah, Mark Wheeler's. He used to go to Grace Bible, and now he has a church out in Standish called the Greater Well.
Okay. Well,
And Mark Wheeler he's a bus driver during the day,
okay.
and he happened to find that person on Marginal Way.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one you're talking about.
Well, it could be. Somebody found him, and then they brought him in, the police, to check it. And they said nothing looked suspicious. That, in other words, they're saying this person must have been suicide, which is, they don't want. I can't speak for anybody because I don't know people's hearts and minds, but it looks to me like they don't want you to think that anybody is running around killing them, because then they're left unprotected, and they don't want to admit that.
We're very unsafe in the community down there. There is people actually trying to kill us. My last time off the wagon, as some people would say, I was given a hot shot. I don't know if people know what that means.
I know. What's a hot shot?
A hot shot is something that, is not what it is intended to be, and it's something that could harm you. Yeah, I mean, there's people out there that had brain aneurysms because they thought they were getting the right drug, and it wasn't a drug at all. It was some synthetic chemical that they put into a bag and gave to you. Once again, like I said, the devil is very prominent in Portland, and I can say that sincerely because having a man smile while he hands you a bag, when I just asked one of the most well-known people there if there's anything around,
Yeah.
and he tells me, the whole area is dry right now, and then, so-and-so comes up and says, nah, it ain't dry, I got some right here, with a big grin on his face, and not the typical, hi, nice to see you, Pastor.
Right. I know what you mean.
But like a grin of
Like an evil grin.
Yeah. But, my addiction wasn't thinking like that at the time until I woke up from it. And having somebody there was a lifesaver for me.
Right.
If I didn't have that person there, I wouldn't be here today. And I'm okay with that, that I am here, because I didn't want to die. But I will say this, as an addict, you are you are in crisis, because anybody that's willing to play Russian roulette with any kind of drugs, period, is seeking to kill themselves. And if you don't see it that way, then you are sick. Because anybody that thinks that anybody wants to be out there carrying bags around, sitting down on a stoop, getting told by the police, the business owners, the social workers, the whoever's, to go move on, you're ruining our business. And well, first off, let's just put it like this. During the summertime, that's the only time you're ruining your business, because otherwise, during the winter, we're the ones making your business. So imagine that, because ain't nobody around during the winter other than these lost souls. So how you getting, your rent paid for your building if it ain't for this guy coming in with his food stamps that you don't like during the summertime and buying that?
Yep.
But
So,
I think
so
that,
what is the mentality of the folks you run into on the street? Is it just, look, it's hopeless and there's no way out, this is my life?
No, your hands are tied, period. They make it so your hands are tied so that you feel hopeless and you feel useless. You feel like you can't get nowhere even if you try. And then when you do try, you're just knocked down anyway. So, it's like basically a defeated town, in my opinion. Like, you got kids that are like literally so frigged up, and the society looks at them like, oh, look at these guys, they just want to get high. No, that's how you make them feel when you snicker at them, when you point at them, when you talk about them, when you go by and you're staring at them. And, like, why don't you get out of your car and give somebody a warm cup of coffee instead of sipping on it in front of them, or just have a conversation. Who cares about your materialistic bull crap? How about you just tell the guy that you're neighbors with him? Because, maybe that could just change a little bit down there.
Well, maybe somebody viewing this, maybe from the Portland area, they may get a different idea of it. It would be nice, what I would like to see is some churches get together in the Portland area and put some programs together to help the homeless. That's what I would like to see. But not just Portland, all the cities, all the areas where there's a lot of homeless. We need... doesn't have to be Shelters by Jesus. I know a lot of them say, well, you're trying to make Shelters by Jesus. No, I'm just trying to get churches to stand up as Jesus told us to stand up, to love our neighbor. And the guys you're talking about that are being put down and picked on and laughed at, they're our neighbor. And that's just how it is. You don't want to admit it, but that's who they are.
The community sense that I'm starting to get and gather, and I'm starting to get myself back. I've already thought about this a couple times, and it keeps coming back to me. So it must be something I need to do. Because I can yell at people all day until I'm blue in the face, but they'll never catch on. So I'll just do it. I'll start a nonprofit. I'll let the homeless in, and I'll just call it Rock Bottom Ministries, because that's where they're at, rock bottom. And anybody that knows when God touches you the most is when you're at rock bottom.
Well, that's always been the case. That's always the case. That's why we see so many people come to Jesus here, as you know. We see a lot of them come, but we're usually the last resort. Like you. Now, you was telling me a story as we closed last time, was off this, about you went to you called a bunch of places, right? Mm-hmm. You want to reiterate what happened, why you ended up here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to, I don't want to name names.
No, I'm not asking for names, but
I went to a couple different places, and let's put it like this. I called at least 16 different places myself. My wife called, my caseworker called, my housing caseworker called. We've called everywhere. And the funny thing is, the second I got the bed here is when they all started having beds. So I'm not going to say that they're bad programs. I'm not going to say this. I'm just saying that I was led here by that.
Well, I believe you were.
What I'm saying personally, though, is that if somebody's seeking help, why shun them? You're never going to get them back in your door once you shun them, so many times. And I don't know if you know what shun means, but or if you just turn your cheek to me like I'm nothing, then I'm not going to come back. And,
no,
and maybe that's the last time anybody ever sees me, because who knows? I've been hurt miserably by people and their comments of good luck, knowing damn well I ain't getting into nowhere. Good luck. It's kind of like a slap in the face, dude. But so I think what I'm trying to get at is that I think we need to start talking to each other with dignity and respect and look at each other. I don't care if you're rich, poor, middle class, whatever. We're all the same. We all bleed the same. If you don't believe me, we can have a kumbaya and cut each other's fingers and watch it drip, and it's all the same color. All the same color. And and the second part of that is that we're all God's children. So if we're God's children and you're a Christian, then it shouldn't be about materialistics and what church you go to and the East Point and I don't care. I don't care. You know what needs to happen is that we need to get these people into churches. Maybe yours, because if you're a Christian, you should be dragging them to church. But long story short, I'm no better because I haven't done that myself. But what I'm getting at is, I think that this whole like black, white, poor, rich, it needs to cut it out, man. Look at the world around you. It's going to crap. When's it going to be too much,
And I don't disagree. I preach on that as well. So, but what I wanted to get to, and I appreciate everything you have to say. I don't disagree with this stuff, but this was definitely not your first choice because you called all these other places first. So, but we're hearing this. But I'm hearing this a lot is because of what it is. It may not be your case, but many come through and go. I try. The last place I want to go, I tried every place else. I did not want to go to a place where I had to go to church. But I'm here because I'm hungry, I'm scared, and I'm hopeless. That's not what a lot of them tell me.
Well,
it may not be you, all right?
My case is a little bit different. I thought that I needed professional help, and I forgot how God is a professional.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
I thought that I needed professional people to watch me detox.
To go to a rehab.
And go to a rehab,
right.
And to be watched under lock and key.
Yeah.
And you know what? At the end of the day, it's my choice I'm going to use in that rehab that I'm locked in because people cheat drugs just like they do everywhere.
Absolutely.
Jails, hospitals,
they'll get them anywhere.
And I can find that stuff because I have this.
Right.
So people like to talk to me about that.
Yeah.
So I've learned that it's a no matter for me. If I say no, then it means no. And if I say yes, it's only because I want to know what you got, and then I'm going to tell you you're stupid for offering it to me.
There you go.
But at the end of the day, I've learned that I need to distance myself from that kind of stuff.
Amen.
And still make it the service because the service is what's helping me.
Absolutely. I like that. That's a great way to close out our segment, Seth. That's a great thing. The other one is going to say no. No matter if it's drugs,
alcohol,
cigarettes,
whatever
alcohol, food,
porn.
Porn. It don't matter what it is. You're the one that's got to say no. And if it's really the people you're hanging with are saying, hey, let's do some of this, you've got to hang with some different people. One of the problems there is, but those are my friends. No, if they're encouraging you to fall back into an addiction that's destroying your life, that's not a friend. I don't care. The friend's going to lead you away from it, not to it.
It goes back to the saying, you are the company you keep.
There you go.
If you're out in your community and you're out with punks, then you're a punk automatically.
There you go.
So I've learned that I just got to be a company of one and try to show people that you don't need friends, you need yourself first and foremost.
There you go. And hang out with a dumb old hick from Skowhegan, my friend. On that note, we're going to say thank you to Aaron for being our guest. I hope you enjoyed it. He talked about some tough stuff, but it's true stuff. And I think we as Christians and churches need to hear this stuff. And until my next podcast, though, y'all come back now.